Hi, beautiful YouTube family. Lisa A. Romano here, the Breakthrough Life Coach, and I want to talk about some statistics today that I believe might help anyone who's interested and who's been attracted to this work understand how truly deep codependency lies, like in the tissues of our body, and how it affects us, in so many ways, millions and millions and millions of us. So I'm constantly researching and learning, because I want to forever remain teachable. The minute you think you know everything, you're not teachable anymore and you stop learning. So I wake up every day and I'm like, okay, what can I learn today? And the goal is to keep my consciousness expanding. And how I link that to codependency is when you're codependent, you don't think that you have a choice. You don't think that you're enough. You don't look outside of yourself. You're stuck inside your program, constantly reacting to the program. And so I have successfully, I believe, have been able to lift myself and ascend myself out of my programming for most of the time. The job that I have right now in my life, the way I look at it, is my job is to stay above the programming and to look at it. Let's say this is my childhood programming, and this is, you have to watch a few of my older videos to understand where I'm coming from right now. But codependency is, as you know, childhood brainwashing. It's the result of the I am not enough syndrome, as I like to call it. When you are born to people who are dysfunctional and they don't tend to your needs, then the message that you receive that gets downloaded into your subconscious mind, imagine this is your subconscious mind, is I am not enough. I'm not enough to love. I'm not enough to care about. And so the subconscious mind gets programmed with all this data and all these codes that say, I am not enough, I'm not enough, I'm not enough. And what do? We end up seeking validation. And these codes, the subconscious programming that are basically codes, what happens then is that we go out into the universe and we are giving off a specific frequency that matches that code. And what do we match up with? People who don't think that we're enough. What happens in our lives? Situations that make us feel like we're not enough. And even though we are enough and we are worthy, our code says that we're not. And so the universe, to maintain order, is 2 by 2. It lines you up with whatever frequency you're giving off. And so I think that the more that we learn about codependency and the more we make connections to all the great wisdom that's ever been, put out there, from the Bible to the work of, Dale Carnegie, to the work of Henry Ford, Whitman, to Nietzsche. I mean, the list goes, Einstein, the list goes on and on. But I feel like we're at an age where we can start bringing all this wisdom together and really understanding it. And hey, listen, you have to be your own advocate. I know that I had plenty of therapists before. I had one therapist who said, yeah, you're depressed and you have anxiety, but that's because you're codependent. I was like, what? Say what? What? But I'm not an alcoholic. My husband doesn't drink, and my parents don't drink, so how could I be codependent? We've got to start talking about how serious an issue codependency is and get beyond the idea that you have to be a co-alcoholic or married to an alcoholic or your parents have to be alcoholics for you to have codependency. It's a bunch of BS, okay? So codependency is a learned way of perceiving oneself as not enough. So Ross Rosenberg has recently wants to recoin the phrase or the term, and he would like people to start considering codependency as an issue of a lack of self-love. My opinion, where I'm coming from, people, is that, okay, yeah, it's a lack of self-love, and I get it, and I totally agree, but it's because we've been taught that we're not enough. So my big spiel on the internet and my books and my workshops and my speaking engagements is to make sure that people understand they have been programmed. It's childhood programming that we're dealing with, and the good news is we can change our programming. So let's start with some information. So I got this right off the internet. Hello. And it is, I pulled it off of PubMed, and it is dated 1998, December 12. And depression and codependency in women. Get this. Now, why aren't doctors and psychiatrists and therapists telling us this stuff? So 7 million American women are depressed. And 40 million Americans, primarily women, have been labeled as codependent. Imagine that. How many of you were told that you were codependent when they were writing you a prescription for depression? Because I know I wasn't the first few times I went to a therapist. Just saying. This study aimed to identify the prevalence of codependency in women undergoing treatment for depression, examine the relationship between codependency and depression, and determine which of the symptoms of codependency are most highly predictive of depression scores. Depression and codependency were measured in a sample of 105 depressed women by using the Beck Depression Inventory and Codependency Assessment Tool. So, of the codependency subscales, low self-worth and hiding self correlate most strongly with depression. So, hiding self, dear ones, when you don't have a self, or you've been taught that you don't have a self, and how? When your parents ignore you, when your parents make you feel psychologically invisible, when you are not asked, how do you feel? What do you like? When you don't have a mother who protects you from your angry father. When you don't have a father who protects you from your angry mother. When you don't feel protected. You don't know that you have worth, that there's something inside of you that is worth protecting. You feel unworthy of being protected. You feel unworthy. And so, of the codependency subscales, low self-worth and hiding self correlate most strongly with depression. Other focus and self-neglected added the least independent explanatory power. Thus, future research should be directed toward the relationship of codependency to power, alienation of self, and personality disorders. Okay, well, I think if you grow up in a home where you're taught that you're not enough, that's going to affect your personality. So, if I didn't do a really good job of hiding my anxiety and my OCD when I was 12, I'm sure that I would have been locked up and or medicated. Absolutely. So I was fortunate enough that I knew that I couldn't trust anyone outside my experience to understand me or to even ask me why I counted on my fingers, why I memorized license plate, why I pulled hair out of my head. I did all those things to help take me away from the anxiety that I felt. I felt anxiety because I felt alien in my body. I felt alien in my body because I felt rejected by the people in my experience. When you're a child and you're rejected, or you feel your experience is one of rejection from your mother and or your father, how you don't feel like you belong. And there you go. There's the tribal instinct that has been frustrated. So you're supposed to feel like you belong. So anyone out there who has been labeled with a personality disorder, I would really like you to question the way you were raised. And I want you to question what it is you deserved. And then I want you to question, well, if I was supposed to get A, B, and C, and I didn't get A, B, and C, then how could I not have issues with self-esteem? How could I feel worthy? If no one taught me that I was worthy, then how can I feel worthy? It's sort of like those of you who follow my work, I raise birds, and I have fish, and I have dogs, and children. But anyway, take children. If you don't make sure that your children have enough calcium and magnesium in their diet, you'll see their teeth will be affected, right? So how could you, if your body needs calcium and magnesium, vitamin C, vitamin D, to have healthy teeth and bones, and you don't have that in your experience, how can you have healthy teeth and bones? You can't. That's so simple to see. So if you're not supposed to have a personality issue or an anger issue or a personality disorder, then that would mean that you were supposed to get everything that you needed in your life to not have a personality issue. So if you're supposed to feel loved and you don't, and you're supposed to trust the people in your life and you don't, and you're supposed to feel protected and you don't, and you're supposed to feel loved and you don't, and you don't feel wanted, you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel like people are curious about who you are, if you don't feel accepted, then And you need all those cooperative components in order to have a healthy personality and to be able to get along with people and have boundaries, so you know when you can be vulnerable and when you can't, because you trust your instincts. When your instinct says flag that person, don't trust that person, then you can trust yourself and not trust that person. So you need to have that skill. The way you have that skill, the trust self, is because you've learned to trust people in your life. So, dear ones, if you have been labeled with personality issues, I'm not saying come off the medication if you're on medication. I'm not saying that. Because that affects brain chemistry. And so brain chemistry is, serious business. So you have to do what you got to do. But what I want you to do is start investigating. Look beyond the diagnosis. Try to find out why. What is it that you needed as a child? And ask yourself, did I get those things? Did I get the calcium plus the magnesium and enough vitamin D? Did I get enough love and enough nurturing? Did I feel seen? Was I validated? Did I get what I needed? Now this is the issue. Because so many of us have been abused by omission, we don't know what we're missing. So if your teeth are black and you don't know that's because you didn't have vitamin C in your diet or you didn't have calcium in your diet, you don't have that information. I write about this in Quantum Tools to Help You Heal Your Life Now when I use the analogy of the pothole situation, which so many of you love that chapter. Namaste, thank you. So if you don't know, if you grow up in a world and your parents don't know that you need vitamin C and A and D and E and K and a certain amount of calcium and magnesium in your body so that your teeth are strong, if nobody in your life knows that, you don't walk into a drugstore looking for vitamin C. Your teeth are falling out, but you don't know why. And that's not your fault. That's just not your fault. So I hope you hear what I'm saying. What I'm trying to say is, if you have been diagnosed with anxiety, if you have been diagnosed with depression, instead of just, I got anxiety and I got depression and now there's something wrong with me and I got a personality disorder, dear ones, do what I did. Ask yourself why. Why do I have anxiety? Personally, I think anxiety gets a bad rap. Anxiety was my body's truth. Anxiety is truth. Anxiety means I'm not happy. And my body knows it. My divine body knows it. My body and my spirit, they're talking to each other. But my programming, my mind is telling me I don't have a right to feel this way. Or I have to be happy. I hate this mother, that I live with. He's a narcissist. He's cruel. He's mean. He's insensitive. He ignores me. He just wants sex. Whatever. Food and sex makes him happy. That's it. Whatever the issue is. Whatever. Or if you're a man and you're unhappy with your wife because she's self-absorbed and she's having an affair. Whatever the issue is, right? Whatever it is. So your body is telling you, I'm not happy. But the subconscious programming, here we go again. The subconscious programming is telling you that you're not enough. You don't have a right to feel that way. You should be happy. Now, this is the thing. Your life could look perfect, and you might not know what's missing because you can't miss what you never had. You can't identify it. And so, if you were abused by omission and you were invalidated and no one ever asked you how you were, and you don't know that that's not healthy, then when your wife or your husband doesn't ask you about your day and how you're doing and isn't inquisitive, then you don't know that that's a big red flag. You feel like invisible. Your body won't lie to you because your body will suffer from depression. Your brain will suffer from depression because you're not happy. And your body will suffer anxiety because you're not happy. But your subconscious programming will tell you that you don't have a right to feel that way. Codependency is also rooted in a need to get validation from the outside. So we unconsciously think that we need permission to feel what we feel. So many of us hold our breath well into our 50s and 60s and 70s, waiting for someone else to say, you are enough. You're enough. And it never happens because it's an illusion. The reality is, dear one, you are enough. You are enough. We never needed anyone's validation. Our earth parents got us here. They were our pod. They were our transport vehicles. And they were supposed to do a certain job, but many of them didn't. And now what we have to do is we have to rewrite the script. We have to reframe. First thing that you want to do, what I do with all my clients and what I do in all my workshops and the MP3s that I sell, I tell everybody that you have to understand the framework for codependency. You have to understand what it is and how it affected you. You have to understand that. Then you have to understand your experience. That's why I wrote The Road Back to Me the way I wrote it, through the child's eyes. You have to understand how you perceive these two big people or one person or whatever, your caretakers in your life. If your parents weren't in your life, how did you feel about being abandoned? How did you feel about being adopted or in foster care? How did you feel about your foster parents, your foster siblings? How did you feel? If your brother or your sister raised you, how did that make you feel? If you're the adult, if you're the sibling that had to raise the children, how did that make you feel? What was your experience? Then that has to be documented and appreciated and honored because that was your experience. And then we have to get you to reframe. We have to get you to understand what you missed, what you were supposed to have. And guess what? That's beautiful because then you stop judging yourself. Beautiful. Then you go, oh, no wonder I'm freaking depressed. Seriously. My mother called me a psycho my whole life. Or she was cruel. Or she was a narcissist. You know, she's having affairs and she's telling me to shut up and lie for her and don't tell my father. Whatever. Or my father was sexually abusing me since I'm a little girl. No wonder I'm depressed. Hello, who wouldn't be? So when you follow these steps and you understand the depression makes sense and you're finding the connections to codependency and how deep this codependency goes, I'm telling you, dear ones, so much of the depression and so much of the what the F is wrong with me begins to go away. Now, I do suggest that you do your own homework. Don't go into therapy for 45 minutes a week, talk your mouth off, and God knows, lots of times therapists, psychiatrists, and psychologists don't give us feedback back. And if they haven't done their own recovery work, maybe they shouldn't. Just saying. I know there are a lot of good psychologists out there. Ross Rosenberg's group seems to be fantastic. That's awesome. He's constantly counseling the therapists that come through him, which I think is amazing. But he'll tell you too, you have to do your own work. If you're a therapist, if you're a healer, you can only heal someone to the extent in which you've been healed. So your job, dear one, as a being that's looking to be healed, you have to be pretty sure that the person that you're working with is healed, has some understanding of what it is to be codependency, what codependency is, what it is to be codependent, and how to get through it. That will be your best teacher. Ask questions. If you hear something on a YouTube video, if you read something in a book and you want clarity, or if you would like the psychologist, I know that some of my clients tell me that their psychologists are watching my YouTube videos, which is awesome. Namaste to any therapist or psychologist out there that is open enough to watch a YouTube videos from Life Coach from New York. You know, God bless you. You know, your ego isn't that big, which is awesome. You know, namaste, namaste, namaste is so important because you value what your client and what your patient is saying. So that's honorable. And I really do appreciate those of you in the therapeutic community who seem to be appreciating the information that your clients are sharing with you. Really appreciate that. This is about a community of people, and we're all trying to heal each other. So I feel like when you know something, you should share it. And I don't want to keep this under the covers. I want to shout it from the rooftops and I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it, because the real agenda is for us to come and become light body activated and to become true anchors of light in this world, and to be conduits of pure love energy. And when we do that, we illuminate the lives of everybody around us. The trees benefit, the earth, Gaia benefits, the sun benefits, our children benefit. Just by, we don't have to open our mouth. All we have to do is keep expanding our awareness of self, move beyond the limits, move beyond the subconscious programming, question the programming, question everything. And let that divine guidance just begin to speak and move within you and connect with other people in ways that you never did before. Honoring the self, falling in love with the self, connecting with the self, understanding what it is to have a Christ consciousness. And what will happen is you begin to understand that you're a part of everything. that there's no separation. There's absolutely no separation. And a world that seems so dark is suddenly so beautiful. You know, you wake up and my first thought in the morning is, I'm so glad I woke up. There's another day to learn, another day to have fun. What am I going to do today? How am I going to help my coaching clients today? What book am I going to write today? What's my experience going to... How much love am I going to be able to pull into my experience today? At the end of the day, I go to bed shit-ass tired because I'm running all damn day. I don't really want to stop because I love life so much. I get it. The veil has been lifted. Hallelujah. No medication, no drugs. I swear to God, I've never done drugs in my life, although some of you asked me if I'm on drugs. I don't know why, but I don't know why. I'm really this happy all the time. So dear ones, I hope that this video has inspired you. Let me know. I have MP3. My MP3 workshop is available on I said MP3 workshop is available, but my MP3 workshop is available at www.lisaaromano.com. I suggest that if you have children who are codependent, this workshop, they will be able to understand it. If you're struggling with teenagers who you think are in codependent relationships with their girlfriends or boyfriends, get them the MP3. Sit down and do this work. Let's heal as a family. Let's heal as a community. And those of you in Belgium and Turkey and Russia, Afghanistan, Kuwait, I bow to the love and the light in you. Thank you for inspiring me and appreciating my work. If you want free codependency worksheets that I gave out at my workshop, all you got to do is go to www.lisaaromano.com and sign up for my newsletter. Everything's there waiting for you. Let's heal, everybody. Bye.